He found Leo in the middle of a sentence, his voice low and steady. $5 million. Leave my brother. Ethan had only stepped away to take a call. Now, returning to their table at the sleek downtown bistro, he saw his younger brother, Leo, elbows planted on the white tablecloth, his school uniform jacket stretching taut across a lean back. Opposite him, the woman from the dating app, Sarah, looked from Leo's intense face to Ethan, an expression of bewilderment shifting into something wry and knowing. Ethan sighed, a headache beginning to bloom behind his eyes. He walked over and rapped his knuckles on the table. He asked Leo to explain his presence. Leo looked up, a slow smile spreading across his face. He mentioned that school had let out early. Ethan's expression hardened. He informed Leo that his homeroom teacher had just called. He'd cut class. Leo's eyes widened in feigned innocence, suggesting he must have mixed up the dates. A surge of anger, hot and sharp, rose in Ethan's chest, but he forced it down. This wasn't the place. He manufactured a smile for Sarah, apologizing for the private matter and suggesting they reschedule. He had already settled the bill. With that, he grabbed Leo's arm and pulled him from the restaurant. Leo became suddenly pliant, allowing himself to be steered into the passenger seat of Ethan's car. Once inside, the docility vanished. As Ethan buckled his seatbelt and pulled out into traffic, Leo began a relentless interrogation. He wanted to know if Ethan had seen her twice because he was falling for her, if he was already thinking about sleeping with her, if he was planning to get married. The afternoon sun glinted off the glass towers of the city, catching in Leo's pale, clear eyes. He had the kind of detached, doll-like beauty that could fool you into thinking nothing stirred beneath the surface. Ethan knew better. He knew about the obsessive, frantic core hidden beneath the placid exterior. At a red light, Ethan finally turned to him, his voice flat. He demanded to know where a high school student would get $5 million. Leo, annoyed by the change of topic but still smiling, leaned across the console. The seatbelt held him back, but the intensity of his gaze was a physical force. It was all the money his father had left him, he explained, and he would give it all to her. Ethan felt a humorless laugh escape him. He shoved Leo back into his seat. There would always be someone else, he pointed out, asking if Leo had an endless supply of dead fathers. The smile finally faded from Leo's face, his expression turning dark and vulnerable. He asked quietly if Ethan was truly going to abandon him. Later, at home, a text from Sarah confirmed the obvious. There was no need for a second date. She wished him well. It was a shame. Her brother, Mark, was a colleague at his firm and had been trying to set them up for months. Another good intention soured. A noise from the master bedroom drew his attention. He had lied to the school, claiming Leo was homesick to avoid a disciplinary hearing. Back at the apartment, Leo had retreated to his room without a word. Now he stood in Ethan's doorway, holding one of Ethan's leather belts. He offered it to him, his voice light. "Go on, you should hit me. I made you angry." He then pulled his school shirt off in one smooth motion. An inexplicable rage seized Ethan. He hated the careless way Leo treated himself, his own body. He snatched the belt and threw it onto the bed, his voice tight. "I'm not your father. I don't hit you." Leo retrieved it, holding it out again. It wasn't abuse, he insisted, just a lesson. He had done something wrong, so he deserved it. Ethan's face must have been a mask of fury. He picked up the discarded uniform shirt from the floor and shook it out, forcing the sleeves back through. He asked what the point was of knowing something was wrong and doing it anyway. He warned him that the next time he skipped school, he wouldn't cover for him. The boy had grown so fast. Ethan had to look up slightly to smooth the collar of the shirt, He was now forcing back onto Leo's shoulders. As he did, Leo caught his hand. He wanted to know if that was all. If Ethan wasn't angry about the ruined date. The truth was, Ethan had planned to meet Sarah again only to tell her he wasn't ready for a relationship. Her text had saved him the trouble. He knew what this was about. Leo was terrified of being replaced, of being left behind if Ethan started his own family. "You don't have to worry," Ethan said, pulling his hand away. "I'll take care of you until you can stand on your own. Don't overthink it." Leo's expression remained taut. He asked what "on your own" meant. Ethan considered it. "At least until you graduate high school." A tremor went through Leo's body. His voice rose, edged with panic. "That's only 6 months away." Ethan extricated his wrist from Leo's tightening grip. He told him that if he knew it was only 6 months, he should be focused on his studies. Leo stared at his own empty hand, then slowly curled it into a fist. His voice was low and heavy when he looked up. "My focus is always on you." It was another one of his disorienting, nonsensical declarations. Since Leo had come to live with him, he was prone to these outbursts. Ethan was clueless about raising a teenager. He could provide food and shelter, but the boy's mind was a foreign country. He fell back on the only tool he had, the tired authority of an adult. "If you keep talking like that, you can go to a boarding school." It worked, as always. Leo froze, the color draining from his face. The corners of his eyes turned red. After a long, silent standoff, he bit his lip and whispered that he understood, then turned and walked out, his back ramrod straight. Ethan's fingers curled into his palms. When he had been dressing Leo, he had deliberately looked away. But his fingertips had brushed against the landscape of his back. A terrain of raised, jagged scars that told a story he wished he could forget. They had been a real family once for 10 months. Ethan and his mother, Leo and his father. A handsome, charming man who doted on Ethan's mother and made a great deal of money. Leo, for his part, had been the opposite of a resentful stepbrother, clinging to Ethan with a deliberate, almost desperate affection. Ethan tutored him, played video games with him, and in the confusing heat of one summer, had even shown him how to find pleasure with his own hands. For a while, he had thought it could work. Then, 6 months in, he saw it. He saw Leo's father, his charming mask gone, tossing the boy around like a doll made of rags. Leo didn't cry or scream, he just took it. Ethan learned the truth then. The man was a monster, suppressing his violent rages for fear of losing Ethan's mother. Leo was his only outlet. Ethan had snatched Leo up and carried him to his room. He'd been about to call his mother, but the boy, a listless heap of bruises, had stopped him, a pale smile on his lips. "Please, don't tell Mom," he'd begged, his eyes suddenly filling with tears. "I don't want to lose you." The raw plea had stopped Ethan cold. Leo had wrapped his arms around his neck, his face buried in Ethan's shoulder, and Ethan felt the warmth of his tears seep through his shirt, straight into his heart. The truth came out eventually. The blended family disintegrated. 3 years later, after graduating from college, Ethan came home to his small apartment to find Leo curled up by the door. He'd had a large backpack, from which he frantically produced a death certificate, a bank statement, and the deed to a house. His father was dead. "The house, the money, it's all yours," he'd said, his eyes wide with hope. "I don't have a home anymore. Can you take me in?" Ethan, barely established himself, should have said no. But looking into those pale, amber eyes, he remembered that summer, and against all logic, he had said yes. That night, Ethan found himself at Leo's bedroom door again. "Can I borrow a white shirt?" Leo asked, his voice subdued. A wave of guilt washed over Ethan. For what? Prom is tomorrow, Leo explained. It's a formal thing. Needs a tie too. Ethan was suddenly frantic. He should have known. He should have taken him to get a proper suit. This was a once-in-a-lifetime event. He rummaged through his closet, pulling out a shirt. He asked if Leo knew how to tie a tie. Leo shook his head. I'll teach you the Windsor knot, Ethan offered, seizing the chance to be a good brother. But it had been years, and tying it on someone else was different. After several failed attempts, he managed a clumsy knot that looked more like a Boy Scout's lanyard. Leo, who had been staring off into space, finally looked down and couldn't help but smile. Flustered, Ethan undid it. Turn around. He stood behind Leo, wrapping his arms around him to tie it as if on himself. Leo was slightly taller now, and Ethan couldn't see what he was doing. He had to stand on his toes, resting his chin on Leo's shoulder to guide the fabric. When he spun him back around to tighten the knot, Leo suddenly grabbed his hands, stopping him. His entire body was tense, vibrating with a barely controlled energy. When he spoke, his voice was a raw whisper. Ethan, stop torturing me. Near the end of the workday, Ethan's boss, Henderson, dropped a 3 GB compressed file on his desktop via Messenger. Get this sorted. The presentation is tomorrow afternoon. Ethan stared at the screen, his heart sinking. It would take all night. For the first time, he pushed back, typing that he had a personal commitment and had to leave on time. He had promised Leo a celebratory pre-prom dinner, a chance to talk, to fix things. He couldn't be late again. The ellipses from Henderson blinked for a long time before disappearing. Then his voice boomed from behind Ethan's chair. Tell me, Ethan, what could possibly be so important? The entire office went silent. Henderson, a man who had been famously ground into dust by the corporate machine before his promotion, had become an even more vicious taskmaster. He clapped a heavy hand on Ethan's shoulder, a mocking smile on his face. Your brother's prom? That's rich. He pushed Ethan back down into his seat. Get it done. He started to walk away, then turned back, adding casually, oh, and I still haven't signed off on your performance review. The fight went out of Ethan. He sent a message to Leo saying he might be a little late and that he should start without him. Hours passed. The office emptied. His vision blurred from staring at the screen. He picked up his phone. Leo's last reply was a simple okay from 3 hours ago. No follow-up texts, no angry calls. The quiet maturity was more unsettling than any outburst would have been. Suddenly, his body acted on its own. He stood up and shut down his laptop. The report could wait. His job could wait. He couldn't break another promise. He had to go to Leo. He arrived at the restaurant just as a waiter was locking the door. Leo was walking out holding 2 large takeout bags. His face, which had been cast in shadow, lit up when he saw Ethan. You came. Ethan looked at the closed restaurant, a fresh wave of guilt washing over him. They closed? It's fine, Leo said, lifting the bags. I got everything to go. Let's go home. The weight of the containers was startling. You didn't eat? Leo shook his head as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. We were supposed to eat together. The rebuke Ethan had been about to deliver for Leo's stubbornness died on his lips, replaced by a quiet apology. I'm sorry. I'm so late. Leo just shook his head, his pale eyes earnest and clear in the streetlight. He said he understood, that Ethan shouldn't apologize. At home, while Leo reheated the food, Ethan sank onto the sofa, watching his back in the small kitchen. It was an image superimposed over a memory from 4 years ago, at his stepfather's mountain lodge, when a younger Leo would make him instant noodles whenever he complained of being hungry. The kitchen was smaller now, and the boy was a man. When had he gotten so tall? Leo, he said, the name slipping out before he could stop it. Leo turned, the blue flame of the gas stove casting a soft light on his features. He waited. Ethan panicked. "I'm just going to take a shower," he stammered, fleeing the room. The steam and pounding heat of the water did little to clear his head. He knew what was happening. He had lit a fire in Leo all those years ago, and now the boy was no longer a boy, but a predator waiting for its moment. The casual affection, the playful arguments, that's what brothers were supposed to have. But their relationship had curdled into something else, something dangerous. He had been so careful this past year, but he kept slipping up, like with the tie, like just now. A knock came at the door, followed by Leo's tentative voice. "Ethan?" Ethan shut off the water, the sudden silence amplifying the sound of his own ragged breathing. 1 minute. He grabbed a towel, but as he turned, his legs gave out. He collapsed to the tiled floor, the room spinning. Too long in the heat. "Ethan? What's wrong?" The doorknob rattled. "Don't come in," he yelled, struggling to his feet, his hands fumbling with the towel. As he stumbled, his hand slipped, hitting the doorframe. The towel fell away. The door opened. He stood there, exposed, unable to look up. He heard Leo's intake of breath, felt his gaze on him. There was a long pause. When he finally dared to lift his head, ready to order him out, the words caught in his throat. Leo took a step forward, his eyes dark. Ethan instinctively moved back, but an arm snaked around his waist, stopping him. Before he could protest, Leo bent down and lifted him effortlessly into his arms. He didn't say a word, his jaw set, and carried him to the bedroom, placing him gently on the bed. His hands, Ethan noticed, were clenched into tight fists at his sides. "You've lost weight," Leo said, his voice husky and strange. Ethan pulled the comforter over himself, his mind racing. After a moment, Leo said he would go get the soup and left the room. The meal was eaten in a tense, suffocating silence. Finally, Leo broke it, asking if work had been busy lately. Thinking of the unfinished report, Ethan's stomach clenched. The conversation he had planned, the gentle, reassuring one, was impossible now. All he could think was that he had to get Leo through the next 6 months without incident. No more dates. No more threats of boarding school. Once he was out in the world, in college, this strange, twisted dependency would fade. "Leo," he began, but was cut off. "Ethan, sell the houses." Leo's voice was flat. "The money my father left. You can use it to start your own business or invest it. Stop killing yourself at that job." The carefully constructed plan in Ethan's head shattered. "Do you have any idea what you're saying?" He snapped, his voice rising. "That's your future. Why don't you just go throw it all in the street?" Leo put down his spoon. "Why are you keeping score? What's mine is yours." It was hopeless. He was losing control. "You and I have no legal relationship anymore," he heard himself saying, the words tasting like acid. "I'm taking care of you out of a sense of duty, but that doesn't mean we're bound together forever." Once you graduate, he stopped himself, but it was too late. The damage was done. The air grew frigid. Ethan. It was the first time he had ever used his name like that, without the pretense of brotherhood. A dull thud echoed in his chest. "I know," Leo said, his voice devoid of emotion. "When I graduate, you're done with me. You'll leave without a second thought. Like you're throwing out the trash." "No, it's not," Ethan started, but the words wouldn't come. One of the overhead lights in the dining nook had burned out, casting the room in dim, uneven light. Leo's pale eyes seemed to glow in the gloom. He pushed his chair back, stood, and closed the space between them. Before Ethan could react, Leo was sitting on his lap, trapping him against the back of the chair. "My 18th birthday wish," Leo whispered, his face close. "Is it never going to come true?" 3 months ago, on his birthday, Leo had wanted nothing but a quiet dinner. When Ethan asked what he'd wished for, Leo had leaned in, wiping a speck of cake from Ethan's lips with his thumb. "To kiss you," he'd murmured. "Can you teach me?" Before Ethan could process it, their lips were inches apart. He had turned his head at the last second, the kiss landing on his cheek. He had pushed Leo away gently, telling him to save his first kiss for someone special. He'd reminded him that the kiss at the lake house years ago was just CPR. He was an adult now, he should know the difference. "I don't want to be your brother anymore," Leo had said then. Now, trapped in the chair, Ethan could only whisper, "I'm sorry." Leo was silent for a long time. Then he stood up. "I'll move into the dorms next week. I'll call the school tomorrow." Seeing the shock on Ethan's face, he offered a brittle smile. "Sorry for being so annoying, always clinging to you. But I meant what I said about the houses. Think about it." Ethan instinctively grabbed his sleeve. "Leo, I'm not kicking you out." "I know," Leo said, his gaze dropping to Ethan's hand on his arm. "You just hate me." Ethan shot to his feet, the chair screeching against the floor. "That's not true." Leo's teacher had called that afternoon, he explained. His grades were slipping. He couldn't focus. He had been trapped in a cycle of hope and despair, waiting for a sign from Ethan that never came. "When I was waiting for you at the restaurant tonight," he said, his voice hollow, "I decided, it's better if you get what you want, even if I never do." He pulled his arm free and walked away. The next day, Leo was gone. The white shirt and tie were neatly folded on the sofa. Ethan called the school and confirmed he had moved into the dorm. The apartment felt vast and silent. A few weeks later, working late, Henderson approached his desk. He placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder, his fingers slowly starting to drift downward. "Good work this quarter, Ethan." He leaned in, his breath hot and stale against Ethan's ear. "You know, you could make things a lot easier on yourself. Just learn to relax a little." A wet, warm sensation on his earlobe sent a wave of revulsion through him. He saw Henderson's tongue dart back into his mouth. "I can make you very comfortable," the man purred. "At work. And otherwise." Ethan shoved him away and stood up. "Stay away from me." Henderson's face contorted with anger. He grabbed the back of Ethan's neck and slammed him face down onto the desk, papers scattering to the floor. "Don't be ungrateful," he hissed, his body pressing against Ethan's back. As his hand moved to Ethan's belt, Ethan blindly grabbed a pen from the desk holder and jabbed backward. Henderson caught his wrist, squeezing until he cried out. Fueled by adrenaline and disgust, Ethan twisted free and drove his fist into the man's face. "You're finished?" Henderson sputtered, blood trickling from his nose. Ethan pointed to the webcam on his monitor, its green light glowing. "Quit," he said, and walked out. Back home, after sending his resignation and an email to HR detailing the assault, he found himself in Leo's empty room. He lay down on the bed, pulling the blanket up. It still smelled faintly of him. His hand brushed against something hard under the pillow. A small metal box. Inside were not treasures but trash. A pen cap, 2 dead batteries, a crumpled tissue, a restaurant receipt from their last dinner. The evidence of their shared life. He realized with a jolt that Leo hadn't taken the box with him. He hadn't just moved out. He had given up. This time it was Leo who had left him. The call from the school came the next day. Leo's grades had plummeted. He was in danger of not getting into a decent college. Ethan found him in his dorm room during lunch break. As he stepped inside, Leo's eyes went immediately to the bruise on his chin, covered by a bandage. What happened?
He fell, Ethan lied.
Leo's gaze drifted up to his neck. He took a step forward, his fingers trembling as they ghosted over the faint, fingerprint-shaped bruises Henderson had left. Did you fall here, too? The air crackled between them. In the same moment, they both spoke. Do you still want to kiss me? Ethan asked. Do you want me to? Leo countered. Ethan didn't answer. He walked over to the narrow dorm bed and sat down. He recognized the bed sheets from his own apartment. Come here, he said softly. Leo moved slowly, hesitantly, stopping a foot away. His face was a canvas of fear and disbelief. Ethan reached out, grabbed the hem of his shirt, and pulled him down. The kiss was hesitant at first, a gentle press of lips. Then, as if a dam had broken, Leo's arms wrapped around him, pulling him onto the bed. The kiss became a desperate, bruising thing. Not a caress, but a catharsis, a release of months of pent-up anger and longing and despair. When they finally broke apart, gasping for air, Ethan felt a hot tear splash onto his collarbone. He looked up and saw Leo's eyes were red, his lashes wet. Are you really leaving me? Leo choked out. Is this just a goodbye present? The pain in his voice was a physical blow. Ethan wiped the tears from his cheeks. I'm not going anywhere, he whispered. This weekend. Will you come home? Leo stared at him for a long moment, searching his face. Then he buried his face in Ethan's neck and gave a small, muffled nod. I'll come home. The following summer, they were at the lake house. Henderson had been fired after an investigation. Ethan had quit his job and was studying for his graduate school entrance exams, hoping to get into the same university Leo would be attending in the fall. The air was thick with the scent of white blossoms from the trees that surrounded the garden swing. We're in love, aren't we? Leo asked, his voice quiet against Ethan's skin. Ethan opened his eyes, watching the sun dapple through the leaves overhead. He tightened his arm around the boy, the man, in his lap and nodded. The swing creaked softly, a steady rhythm marking the end of one summer and the beginning of another.